Good afternoon to one and all. I wholeheartedly welcome you all to the fourth session of this conference. Before getting into the speech of the resource person, I would like to invite Dr. M. Saravanan, Associate Professor and Head, Department of International Business, to introduce our elite guest speaker, Dr. C.N. Somarajan. Please, sir.
Thank you, Suganya. Respected dignitaries, principal, HODs, and members of faculty, I'm elated to introduce our most distinguished guest, Dr. C.N. Somarajan, former head, Department of Political Science, University College, Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala. His qualifications are MA PhD from Sri Narayana College, Kollam, University of Kerala. He has given training in management, motivation, and leadership at Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, Kozhikode, and Australia. He has 42 years of teaching experience at college and university levels. He acted as resource persons at various academic training. He is a member of Faculty of Social Sciences at University of Kerala. He has produced 5 PhD scholars and has 13 years of research guidance experience. He has membership in various professional bodies. To name a few are South Indian History Congress, Local Secretary, 8th session, sponsored by the Sri Narayana Samskarika at Kollam in January 1988. He is the founder, General Secretary and Treasurer, Kerala Academy of Social Sciences. He has about 8 years of editorial experience, which includes Review of Social Sciences, a peer-reviewed biannual of the Kerala Academy of Social Sciences. He has, to his credits, he has 65 publications in papers, 14 books, which includes history, political science, employability skills, including 2 on Sri Narayana Guru. His present engagements are: he is working on T.K. Madhavan, leader of the Vaikom Satyagraha and a leading apostle of Sri Narayana Guru. He is continuing research work on Sri Narayana Guru and his disciples. He is a member of the Sri Narayana Samskarika Samiti for the past 40 years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now request Dr. Somarajan, sir, to take over the session. Please, sir.
Thank you. First of all, I must thank the professor who introduced me for the good words he has spoken about me. I must also thank the management, the principal, HODs, and other faculty members. Also, I do remember the services being rendered by Hari Krishna, a student of the microbiology department. I deem it a privilege and an honor to be invited to deliver a talk on the greatest human being produced by India, Sri Narayana Guru. Recently, I brought out a book on Guru. The title, Sri Narayana Guru, the prophet of universal humanism. Everybody knows that the primary unit of Indian social system is caste. An individual is accepted or rejected on the basis of his social origin and not on his merit. It has become, caste has become the logo of Indian social system. It is embedded in the Indian social psyche. Even the advocates of Advaita could not reject caste. But there are people who advocate annihilation of caste because it is caste as an institution is the greatest hindrance to the development of the country. Srinarayana Guru rejected caste. Caste is not real. It is imposed. It is contrived by people having vested interests. And since caste is eating at the vitals of both the advocates and the victims, it's a must that we should learn how to annihilate caste. And the way is shown by Sri Narayana Guru, who has emerged as the prophet of universal humanism. You know, friends, the very first act of Sri Narayana Guru in 1888 itself was a declaration to the entire world for the building up of a society based on universal humanism. The 1888 symbolic Shiva idol installation is historic in many senses. I'm not going into all the aspects of that installation of Shiva temple. So in 1880, it was founded. Shortly, a committee was established to manage the affairs of that temple. His declaration runs like this. It is considered to be, in my opinion, that declaration should be considered as the manifesto of Sri Narayana Guru for building up of a society, a human society based on humanism, devoid of dividing walls of caste or race, or hatred of rival faith. We live here in brotherhood. Such know this place to be the model foundation. So the model foundation for the building of such a society was laid in 1888 itself. For the next 40 years' time, he has been strenuously striving for building up of a society. So immediately after the installation, a committee was constituted, Vavuti Yogam, to manage the affairs of the temple. And in 1903, his disciples and devotees joined together and gave form and shape to a new social organization in Kerala, the Sri Narayana Dharma Paripalana Yogam, Society for the Propagation of the Dharma preached by Sri Narayana Guru. And it was in 1903, shortly that association got registration under the Indian Companies Act. This was getting registration was a very sensational news, a happy news. The devotees who were responsible for this association's registration, they went and conveyed the news to the Guru. Guru remained silent for a moment. Very gently he told, so who were the disciples and devotees? Dr. Palpu, Kumaranasan, the great poet of Kerala. And Kumaranasan has been called by Guru as Kumaru. So now Guru said like this, Kumaru, we decide a Vedanta Sabha. He didn't say anything negative. He blessed the new organization, encouraged the new organization, and thus the SNDP Yogam started functioning. And what was its objective? Promotion of religious and secular education, and industrious habits of the Edawa community. Underline Edawa. Anyway, start function. And Guru has been, though he blessed and encouraged the SNDP leaders and the organization as such, he was observing closely the activities of the new organization. So, founded in 1903, in 1907, he has informed the secretary through a message, a reminder for the course correction by the SNDP Yoga. It runs like this: all alike crave for comfort. All alike crave for comfort. That is the maximum of all sabhas or human organizations. That was the sum and substance of his 1907 message to the SNDP Yoga General Secretary. He continued to observe the actual working of the SNDP Yogam. And thus, in 1909, another significant message was sent to the secretary, SNDP Yogam secretary. Runs like this: youngsters with appropriate aptitude should be selected, accepted as brahmacharis, imparted education, and those willing and capable should be given sannyasa and should be sent to different parts of the country for charity work. Charity work. So far, from 1903 onwards, the SNDP Yogam has been engaged in hectic activities of a different type, protecting the rights of a rising community. It was only no charity work was there. That's why Guru sent this message. Remember, youngsters with appropriate aptitude should be selected, accepted as brahmacharis, imparted education, and those willing and capable should be sent to different parts of the country for undertaking charitable social activities. 1909. So far, if you take a balance sheet of the working of the SNDP Yogam from 1904 to 1909, see, nothing, not much positive about these activities. Anyway, the next landmark, as far as the activities of the SNDP Yogam, as far as the activities of Sri Narayana Guru is concerned, the next landmark is the year 1912, founding of Sharada Mutt, founding of a temple dedicated to the goddess of knowledge. And even before 1912, this secretary of the SNDP Yogam in a report informed everybody that if we are not giving equal opportunities to women also, educating them appropriately, we will be like running with only one leg. So starting equal consideration, equal opportunities to women to develop to their maximum. Such was the importance given to women education from 1912 onwards. So the installation ceremony was spread over 3 days. 20,000 people from Malabar, Cochin, Travancore, and parts of present Tamil Nadu also attended that meeting. everything, everybody acted like the members of a same family. No untoward incident happened. No policeman was there to maintain law and order. 3 days of 4 days of intense activities. At the end of the day, the installation was done. But within a few days, Guru left the place. He went westward after making necessary arrangements for management of the temple and other associated establishments. And also by entrusting another set of people to spread out to the country, different parts of the country for charitable activities, for propagation of the principles advocated by Sri Narayana Guru. His friends from Shivagiri, the Guru went to Kardiyapalli, met a householder at his house. He was surprised to see Guru at that moment without any advance notice. He was taken aback. He asked Guru, Swamin, why now here? He left everything at Sivagiri to them. They will look after Sharada Math and other establishments. We need, he used to, instead of I, he used to use the word we. We need some place to stay or rest. And from Karthikapalli, he went to Sierthala and visited one of the most prominent Irava families, Chirapanchira. You know, this Chirapanchira is closely associated with Sabarimala. I'm not going to that history, such a prominent family. And the head of the family made his offerings of land and money. Guru accepted them and went still northward, visited so many others as well, collected the money, that is funds required for purchasing a reasonable extent of land at Alua. They reached Alua, bought the land. At the beginning, a small hut, thatched hut was constructed along with a small building, but in the ensuing flood, they were washed away. And in 90, the Advaita Ashram was established in the year 1930 at Alua. What for? What was the objective of establishing a new setup here in Alua? Shivagiri was there, Aripuram was there. Why this? And this new ashram was to be the headquarters of his further activities for emancipation of the entire humanity. Advaita Ashram. And this propagation of his principles, Sanatana Dharma, one caste, one God, one caste, one religion, one God for man. Sanatana Dharma, eternal values. The greatest principle ever evolved by Sri Narayana Guru, the emancipator of humankind, was this Sanatana Dharma, one caste, one religion, one God for man. So it was for the purpose of propagation of this Sanatana Dharma that the Advaita Ashram was established in 1913 at Alua. Naturally, there started a series of public meetings for this propagation. A series. And the tallest of the tall leaders of the community were associated with the Guru. They all of them converged at Alua. People like T.K. Madhavan, who later emerged as the greatest organizer of Travancore. And he was the leader of Vaikam Satyagraha. He also led several other agitations, etc., etc. So T.K. Madhavan, Sahodaran Ayyappan, the annihilator of caste in Kerala. Sahodaran Ayyappan, the great rationalist, and such people assembled there, and they spoke about Sanatana Dharma to these public meetings, and most of these meetings were presided over by T.K. Madhavan himself. So here that was in 1913. In 1916, Guru made an important declaration. At first, he declared that he has left caste and religion. Within 1 month, he issued a clarification. Though I discarded caste and religion, the implication is this: we have no special feeling towards any religion. So leaving caste. And in 1921, an important meeting, an important conference was convened there at Alva by Sahodaran Ayyappan, Brother Ayyappan. And he was the founder of the Sahodara Sangam Brotherhood movement. And he decided a message from the Guru for the success of this meeting, unprecedented meeting in the annals of history, for annihilation of caste. He was a champion of inter-caste marriage and inter-dining. At that time, these words, pregnant with meaning, cannot even be imagined. Such was the social situation prevailing then. But he was bold enough to proceed with his activities, requested a message from the Guru. Guru thus issued a message approving inter-caste marriage and inter-dining. So Srinarayana Guru had a special consideration for Sahodaran Ayyappan. Guru could understand the potentiality of Sahodaran Ayyappan as the annihilator of caste. And as a result of the unprecedented activities undertaken by Ayyappan in association with his friends and others, he had to suffer untold miseries, isolation, deprivation, etc., 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 even physical assault. Guru was much concerned about it. When Ayyappan met Guru told him, suffer like the Christ. Indeed, Guru wanted Ayyappan to join Srinarayana Guru's efforts in this regard. Thrice, Guru invited Ayyappan. Sanghathil cherunundo. Would you like to join our Sangha? He said, I am frightened, Swami. Bhayamagunnu Swami. Bhayamagunnu Swami. Such was the person. He was prepared to dedicate everything for the cause advocated by Sri Narayana Guru, 1921. And slowly, the SNDP Yogam became a little more considerate towards the ideals of the Guru. When it was formed in 1903, only Eevas were to be admitted to the organization. It was against the will of Sri Narayana Guru. So here, those who are viewing the objectives of the SNDP Yogam considerately or compassionately, they can be admitted as new members. But after some time, another resolution was passed by the very same Yogam that in spite of caste differences, members can be admitted, new members can be admitted. In 1927, an important resolution was passed by the SNDP Yogam appointing T.K. Madhavan, the greatest organizer Kerala has ever seen, as the organization secretary. So by 1927, he had already organized a large number of organized efforts for emancipation in various ways, including the Vaikam Satyagraha. He was known as the Vaikam leader, hero of Vaikam. I do remember Ramasamy Naikar, Vaikam Veerar. I do remember. I pay my respects to Naikar, but T.K. Madhavan. When T.K. Madhavan initiated his organizational efforts for enlisting new members, the Yogam had passed another resolution that those who believe in the Sanatana Dharma advocated by Sri Narayana Guru can be accepted as members. This organizational expert T.K. Madhavan, within 1 month, was successful enough to admit 50,334 new members, including 2,000 women. They also included 50 people belonging to other social categories like Brahmins, Nayars, Christians, and Muslims. But their number was around 50. See, this organizer, T.K. Madhavan, was acceptable to all the communities in Travancore in Kerala. Not only Yidavas, not only Hindus, Christians, and Muslims. Such a personality failed to, or such a personality could succeed in admitting around 50 members from other communities. Such was the social situation existing then, because the Yogam had to look after the social political rights of the community. 1918 to 1922, Travancore witnessed the play of communal interests, conflicting communal interests. Christians, Muslims, Yidavas, they joined together and initiated the civic rights movement. Their major demand was representation for their respective communities in the then existing revenue department of Travancore. Remember, the revenue department then was also looking after a Devaswan department. So religious administration, religious affairs. It was on this basis that the 3 communities mentioned earlier were denied appointments in this revenue department. Anyway, though they succeeded, that agitation has aroused conflicting communal interests. It was during this time that the membership campaign was undertaken by T.K. Madhavan. And before T.K. or up to the point when T.K. Madhavan initiated this organizational affairs, there were only 3,100 members. Within 1 month, 50,634 members. 2,000 women, around 50 of non-Yidavas. So this was a welcome development. This was a welcome development, 1927. See, The thrust of my talk is on Guru's efforts for building up of a casteless society through a casteless Sabha. Guru believed that SNDP Yogam will certainly work as a casteless Sabha. Because of the pulls and pressures, the Yogam failed in that respect. They concentrated on socio-political rights. From 1888 onwards, there were sannyasins who associated with the Guru. In 1912, consecration of Sharda Math. A few more sannyasins joined. Bodhananda Swami and associates, headquartered at Cochin, they also joined Sri Narayana Guru. So the number of sannyasins began to increase. Actually, Guru's intention was annihilation of caste through a casteless society, casteless Sabha. And the sannyasins also made earnest efforts to form a similar Sangha from 1912 onwards. No, the efforts were initiated, but no positive result. Guru was much concerned about the failure in this respect. He sent invitation letters to all the concerned sannyasins, asking them to go to Trichur. Letters were sent to all, and by the time Guru also procured a draft of a memorandum of the proposed sannyasi Sangha by one of the leading legal luminaries of that time, Ramavarma Tamban. It was with this draft Guru also went to Trichur from Alvey. Sannyasins from southern part of Travancore, from the northern part of the present Kerala, and also from Tamil Nadu. All of them arrived at Trichur. Hectic discussions, marathon discussion, debates, discussions spread over 3 days. No result. No result. Their task was to frame the rules of the proposed Sabha. 3 days. 3 days they failed. Then Guru inquired, what happened? What happened? What happened? No positive result. Then he asked one of those assembled there to fetch a paper, a writing paper, and a pen. Dictated. One of the greatest testaments of the discipline of management, entitled Ashramam. It is in Sanskrit, consisting of 5 stanzas. If we translate it into from Sanskrit to Malayalam, it may be like this. The gist of that testament dictated by Sri Narayana Guru, consisting of the rules governing the proposed setup, ashram. And according to this testament, this ashram should have a guru. The guru should have 13 qualifications. 13 qualifications, well defined, very precise, full and complete. Nobody could add or delete anything from those qualifications. It is very rare to get such persons with such qualifications, 13 qualifications. And the Guru's duties and responsibilities were also laid down by Guru through this testament. The Guru of the proposed association should form a Sabha, a central organization. Separate Sabhas should be constituted for men and women. Not only at the center, headquarters was supposed to be Alway, not alone at Alway, but in other places as well. Women, separate ashramams for women, sabhas for women, men, and they should undertake various activities, including education, social work, etc., etc. Everything was set. Everything was set. Still, some more details had to be determined, accepted by the sannyasins themselves. The discussion continued. Discussion continued. Again, Guru inquired about the result. Sannyasins, I am not concentrating on the negative side of the entire process of consultation, agreement or disagreement, whatever it is. For the time being, I ignore them. But this incident, I could not but bring to your attention. Guru asked, what happened? No, silence. If you are like this, I will go and wear the cap. The implication everybody knows. Wearing cap, he will become a Muslim. And on an earlier occasion also, he had also told his disciples like this, I will embrace Midavadi Krishnan's religion, that is Buddhism. At crisis moments he was compelled, he was a divine being. He never loses his senses. Very silent, very polite, very gentle, but very effective. So these words, I will go and wear the cap, are interpreted by one of the biographers of Sri Narayana Guru, Kottukoyikal Velayudan. He considers this as a whip. Affecting all the 10, 11 people assembled there. And at that moment, all of them were disarmed. Their disagreements with each other disappeared. They came to have one and the only opinion regarding the other details for the governance of the proposed association. All of them prostrated before the Guru, signed the memorandum. 10, 11 people were there. One person, later Dr. Natarajan, he didn't sign because Guru has assigned a still harder job for Dr. Natarajan. Dr. Natarajan was the person who introduced, popularized Sri Narayana Guru's philosophy in the Western world. He didn't sign. Thus, Guru said, now the Sangham, Sri Narayana Dharma Sangham has come into being. Sangham ini ellam Sangham. Sangham ini ella Sangham, ella pravartanangal Sangham. Everything will be directed, done by the Sri Narayana Dharma Sangham, Association for the Sannyasins. And the main duty was propagation of the Sanatana Dharma advocated by Sri Narayana Guru. Friends and believers in Sri Narayana, this was formed in January 1928. Within a short time, Guru attained Samadhi. And the new office bearers were also selected. Bodhananda Swami, an ideal person, fulfilling all the conditions prescribed by qualifications prescribed by the Guru himself. He was nominated as the head of the ashram, president of the Sannyasi Sangha.
நானும் ஒரு மெசேஜ் போடுறேன் உங்களுக்கு.
Swami Dharmadutta was appointed as the secretary, Swami Govindananda as the treasurer. For the past so many years, I have been tried to identify any of the activities conceived by the Guru, Sri Narayana Guru, for the building up of a new society based on universal humanism. Our sannyasins, revered sannyasins, are doing ideal work, service. The result, we can see tangible results are there. But as far as the ashramam is concerned, as far as the annihilation of caste is concerned, as far as the establishment of a casteless society based on universal humanism, nothing worth the name so far. So far. Sivagiri Mush has branches all over the world. And before that, one more point too, a very cardinal point. What was the type of society he intended to build, engineer? In 1909, he reminded the SNDP Yoga. All alike crave for comfort. That is the maximum of all human organizations. Crave for comfort. Two types, everybody knows. Spiritual, material. That's why Guru wanted to popularize education, promote education, promote industry. So many others. I'm not going into such details. So here, the new society conceived by the Guru will be a novel society. All the members of this new society based on universal humanism will be promoting welfare, everybody's welfare, maximum welfare of each and every individual. In this respect, I do remember, so being a political science teacher, we used to teach Western philosophers. Utilitarians were also there. Jeremy Bentham, J.S. Bell, and their ultimate objective was to give maximum good to the maximum number. Maximum good to the maximum number possible. Here Guru is advocating maximum good to all. Nobody is left out. Nobody is thrown out. Everybody is concerned. Everybody is considered. Everybody is striving hard to promote one's own good as well as the good of others. Such an ideal society. See, look around. what happens in Afghanistan, what happens in other parts of the world, including India. Extremism, fundamentalism, cutting throats, annihilating people, not in tens or hundreds, thousands, lakhs and lakhs. Every day it is happening. Everybody is wondering how to put an end to such a situation, such a dangerous situation confronting the entire humanity. Turn to Guru, listen to him, try to create a casteless sabha, and through it a casteless society comprising entire humanity. Our revered sannyasi can take the lead under the leadership of the Sivagiri Mutt, make the Alua Advaita Ashram the headquarters of the new organization, link all the local sabhas, mutts spread over the world under the Sivagiri Mutt as the local sabhas, and initiate necessary action. Time is right. Guru's philosophy is spreading like that. A few days back, the one of the leading churches in Kerala, the Seal Row Malabar Christian Church, there was a very sensational report of a statement made by the head of the church that they sought, the church under the priest, they sought to identify, find out human beings. Christianity was not successful, was not helpful. Islam, not helpful. Any other religion is not helpful to find out a human being except Sri Narayana Guru. Only Sri Narayana Guru. In the annals of human history, there is only a solitary, a human being in every sense of the term, Sri Narayana Guru, who ordained humanity all to engineer a new society devoid of caste, devoid of religion, religious rivalry. So, my dear friends, I have been trying to convey the message of Narayana Guru to all of you. I'm very much thankful to the organizers, very much thankful to all those who listen to me. Thank you all. I offer my special thanks and gratitude to Dr. E.K. Girishan. He has been in touch with me for a long period, meeting almost every day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Somran sir, very.
Yes.
Sir, sir, thank you very much, sir.
You are
Hello,
welcome.
sir.
You
Yes,
are
sir.
welcome.
Thank you, sir. Please be online, sir. We'll have the valediction within few minutes.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. It was a captivating session, and you discussed the various new things about Sagodharan Ayyappan, who was a rationalist. And it is the first time that we come to know about, I come to know about these people, sir. And you just explained how Guru strived or struggled to establish a casteless society, and how he wanted to establish a society that is ideal or perfect. It was very beautiful, sir. It was really inspiring. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Participants, if you have anything to ask, sir, please do ask.
Welcome to ask questions. Anybody, any questions? I'm only happy to answer.
Sir, I think there are no questions.
Thank you.
Would you like to convey something, sir, to the participants or to the student community?
The student community has great responsibilities of building a new world, ignoring the differences of caste, religion, etc., etc., etc. They have to be good, they have to become good individuals, human beings, looking after their own interest while promoting the vital interests of all other members of society, the entire human society, not limited to your family, to your locality, to the state of Kerala and Kerala or any other particular state, the whole of humanity. Then you will have a bright future, and the world will have, the entire humanity will have everything good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will follow your words for sure, sir.
Okay.
Please be in touch, sir. Now
Pardon?
it's time to please be in touch with us, sir.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Now it's time to have Dr. M.A. Rati, who will propound a vote of thanks. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Suganya. Good afternoon to you all. I deem it a
Yeah.
great honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks on the third day of the International Conference on the Life and Teachings of Sri Narayana Guru. First of all, let me start by giving glory to Sri Narayana Guru Devan for making today's occasion a resounding success. It's my pleasure to thank our management for supporting us to organize this event. First and foremost, I would like to thank our speaker, Dr. Preeta Krishna L. Assistant Professor, Department of English, Sri Narayana College, Varkala, Trivandrum, who had spared her time with us and delivered an excellent lecture on metaphors in the poetical work of Sri Narayana Guru. Thank you, ma'am, for your enlightening speech. Next, I would like to thank Dr. B. Sugita, Director, International Center for Sri Narayana Guru Studies, Government of Kerala, for giving a speech on ontological and axiological vision in Brahma Vidya Panchagam of Sri Narayana Guru. Thank you, ma'am, for your informative lecture. I place on record my sincere gratitude to Dr. P.V. Suraj Babu, retired principal, SNM Training College, Ernakulam, Kerala, for enriching and illuminating us with Guru's concept of values. Thank you, sir. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. C.N. Somarajan, sir, retired professor of political science, University College, Trivandrum, Kerala, for enlightening us on Sri Narayana Guru, the prophet of universal humanism. Thank you, sir. My sincere thanks to all the participants for your active participation and support. Thank you. Thank you, Ananta.
Thank you, ma'am. I thank everyone for joining us. Please turn on the video mode for a photo. Thank you, everyone. Now we'll move on to the valedictory session. Dear participants, the valedictory session will begin in 2 minutes. Please wait.
A warm good afternoon to one and all present here. On behalf of our college, we welcome you all to the valedictory function. We thank you all for making the 3 days international conference a grand success with your presence. Leadership is self-made, self-retained, self-inculcated, and then exposed through a faithful, sincere, and exemplary life. Now, I request Dr. E.K. Girishan, sir, Associate Professor and Head Department of Computer Applications and IT, to welcome the gathering and to introduce the chief guest. Please, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. God is an embodiment of knowledge who sees without eyes, hears without ears, feels without skin, smells without nose, and tastes without tongue. These are the words of wisdom of Srinarayana Gurudevan. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to one and all present in this virtual gathering. It is my honor and privilege to welcome you all to the valediction of the 3-day multilingual international conference on the life and teachings of Srinarayana Guru, ICLT SNG 21, organized by Srinarayana Guru College, Coimbatore. I take this opportunity to welcome Dr. S. Srinath, the Vice President of Srinarayana Mission, Singapore, who would be delivering the valedictory address of the conference. I am also happy to introduce Dr. Srinath to this August gathering. Dr. Srinath is a civil engineer who served as a Vice President of Srinarayana Mission Singapore from the year 2019 to 21. Presently, member of Srinarayana Mission Singapore and Interracial Religious Conference Circle, IRCC Singapore. Dr. Srinath has helmed as the chairman of the Indian Active Executive Committee from 1999 to 2018. He engaged Indian community by organizing various activities and engaging platforms with other races to build mutual trust, friendship, reciprocity amongst them. He is also involved with grassroots organizations, GRO, as a Citizens Consultative Committee, CCC, Community Club Management Committee, CCMC, and Residence Committee, RC, for the last 23 years. He studied at the Nanyang Technical University of Singapore for his Master of Science in Engineering, following Doctor of Philosophy, specializing on public-private partnership. He has been working in the Singapore construction industry for various infrastructure projects in senior management positions for the last 27 years. Dr. Srinath was awarded the Public Service Medal, Pingat Bhakti Masyakarat, by Singapore government during National Day 2015 for rendering commendable public service in Singapore. He has also delivered several lectures on Srinarayana Guru and has been chaired for various international and national conferences held across India and Singapore. We are fortunate to have Dr. Srinath in this amongst us. Welcome you, sir, on behalf of the college.
Thank you for your good words, Dr. E.K. Girishan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Hearty welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
I deem it a great pleasure to welcome the managing trustees of Srinarayana Guru Education Trust, SNGET Coimbatore, our beloved chairman, Sri N. Prabhakaran, Vice Chairperson, Mrs. Shailaja Venu, Joint Secretary, Mrs. Vijana Premnath, Treasurer, Sri P.A. Rajkumar, for their support and encouragement to organize this conference in a smooth manner. Welcome you all. I take this opportunity to welcome Sri V.K. Mohammed, President of Universal Confederation of Srinarayana Guru Organizations, New Delhi, and Sri T.S. Harish Kumar Sir, President of Srinarayana Mission, Coimbatore. Welcome you, sirs. I extend my warm welcome to our Principal, Dr. M. Ilangovan, for his guidance and motivation. Welcome you, sir. A warm welcome to the representatives of Srinarayana missions across the globe to this August gathering. Welcome you all for this valediction. And I am indeed indebted to welcome the valued heads of the departments, learned faculty members, participants from various regions, research scholars, and students to this August gathering in a virtual manner. Welcome you all to the valediction of ICLT SNG 21. Thank you.
The pioneer is the one who knows the way, shows the way, and goes the way. Now I request Dr. Srinath Sir, Vice President, Srinarayana Mission, Singapore, to take over the session. Please, sir.
Thank you. Respected Sri N. Prabhakaran, Chairman, SNGC, Dr. E.K. Girishan, Organizing Secretary, Dr. M. Ilangovan, Principal, SNGC, invited guests, respected Head of Departments, distinguished speakers, respected delegates, chief patrons, advisory members, convener, organizing members, respective faculty members and students of SNGC. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Ellorkum vanakkam. Ellorkum namaskar. It is with great honor I am here for the valediction speech. I am humbled to be invited to this conference and would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. E.K. Girishan for inviting me for this virtual international conference on the life and teachings of Srinarayana Guru, which is relevant on the present volatile global environment. We all are going through a challenging and difficult period for the last 2 years due to COVID-19 pandemic. And I can imagine the relentless efforts and time spent to organize a virtual conference on this scale, lasting for 3 days, involving speakers like Sri T.S. Harish Kumar, Swami Sachidanandan, and Brother Ansmada Chaitanya, and various other prominent speakers. I was able to attend the conference today. Today morning, I learned about metaphors from Dr. Preetha Krishnan. Excellent presentation, Dr. Preetha Krishnan. Congratulations. I also listened to Dr. B. Sugita, Dr. P. Suresh Babu, and Dr. C.N. Somarajan. Congratulations to all of you for the excellent presentations, which was thought-provoking. I would like to congratulate Srinarayana Guru College and its organizing committee and everyone who organized this international event and made this conference a big success. I am proud like all of you. Srinarayana Guru was a visionary saint, scholar, philosopher, humanist, and social reformer, known as the father of the Renaissance in Kerala. Was a great person who freed a lower caste community from superstition and practicality, and thus saved them from customs and practices of upper caste. Thus, Srinarayana Guru was a hero and prophet of the Kerala Renaissance. The philosophical word of one caste, one religion, one God for mankind is the contribution of Srinarayana Guru. At the same time, Srinarayana Guru has made it clear that everyone is equal in this world. Through the teaching of Sri Narayana Guru, it can be said there is no better word for abandoning the selfish interest of human beings who are segregated into caste, religion, and God. We can understand that Sri Narayana Guru, a pioneer in social work and philosophy, dreamed of a world where all human beings could be united. Sri Narayana Guru tried to remove anything that was blocking the society and the human mind. Guru's goal was to create a society that transcended caste and religion. In the same way, from this point of view, we can learn about religion and God from the point of view of Sri Narayana Guru. Sri Narayana Guru says about religion that makes it clear that ultimate goal of all religion is self-identification. The Guru had the objective of creating a society that was beyond caste and religion's thought. Sri Narayana Guru overcame untouchability of caste and religion, armed with the knowledge that one nation and one religion was sufficiently human. Guru, who gave importance to karma, is a guide for all those who belong to caste differences. So, ladies and gentlemen, since you have been listening to the life and teachings of Sri Narayana Guru for 3 consecutive days, I'd like to share on the relevance and importance of Guru's teachings for the people living outside India and how we have achieved racial and religious harmony. Race has been a fundamental issue for Singapore from the very beginning of our nationalhood. In 1965, on the day we became independent, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, the then Prime Minister, said Singapore is not a Malay nation, not a Chinese nation, not an Indian nation. Everybody will have a place in Singapore. He said this to assure the minorities in Singapore the world always be protected and not be treated worse than the majority. But he also said this to remind the Chinese majority never to approach the non-Chinese because they themselves had felt spotted upon when Singapore was in Malaysia. It was a 2-part message, not only to reassure the minorities, but at the same time, give a sober reminder to the majority not to overstep the bounds and make life miserable for those who are not the same color as them. Why was this principle so important to us? There are 2 parts to this answer. First, this was a fundamental idea over which Singapore fought with the central government of Malaysia. Our founding fathers believed passionately in the vision of multiracial society, where nobody would be favored or disadvantaged because of the color of his or her skin, where everybody would have equal opportunities, feel kinship and brotherhood with people of different races and religions, and share the same Singapore nationality. This vision is aligned with the teachings of Sri Narayana Guru. The second reason we have to have a fundamental point about multiracialism is because Singapore is a Chinese majority country in a Malay majority part of Southeast Asia. In the 1960s, about 60 years ago, Singapore had already been perceived as the third China. We were seen as a Chinese country, a proxy stooge for communist China, and not an independent player. If Singapore had been identified as a Chinese country, it would have caused problems with our neighbors. We would not have been able to live peacefully in Southeast Asia. So we had to make quite sure that people understood that we were independent and multiracial country. Therefore, our founding fathers made multiracialism the fundamental principle on which Singapore was founded and enshrined in our constitution. They drafted the national pledge, where we pledge ourselves as one united people, regardless of race, language, or religion. Over the past 52 years, we made significant progress in becoming one people, regardless of race, language, or religion. We take pride in our country and in our identity. We have worked together, built together, mourned together, and celebrated together as one people. But you must remember that we have here is not something natural, nor something which will stay there by itself. It is the result of very hard work, a lot of toil and sweat, and the gradual education and bringing together of people. It was also because of the gradual inculcation of shared values and attitudes that we came to have the confidence, trust, and mutual respect to make us one people. We brought people together and consciously created common spaces and opportunities. We use English as a common working language while ensuring a place for our mother tongues. Tamil is one of the recognized national mother tongue language in Singapore. We mix all races together in housing development board estates, where about 80% of the population is living, so that there are no enclaves in Singapore. In schools, we recite the pledges every day. We created grassroots consistency that in Parliament, we always have minorities presented. We came down hard on extremists, regardless of whether they were Chinese, Chauvinist, or Malay, Indian, or Hindu extremists, because they have to understand that this is what Singapore is. And this is how Singapore will act when racial chauvinists try to stir up sentiments against others. Sometimes we think we have arrived and that we can do away with these provisions and rules, which we feel like such a burden. But in fact, it is the other way around. It is precisely because we have these provisions and rules that we have achieved racial and religious harmony. We have not yet arrived on an ideal state of accepting people of a different race. Yes, we have made progress, but it's work in progress. Ever mindful of social strife and racial conflict, we have worked hard to become one people, building bonds of trust that bridge over ethnic, social, and cultural differences. After 6 decades of independence, Singapore has come a long way from the tense political climate and social tensions of 1960s. Today, despite differences in ethnicity, religion, and culture, we live together as one people with harmony that is remarkable among nations. But it would be a mistake to take this state of affairs for granted or to overlook the institutions, policies, efforts that have carefully nurtured the social harmony we now cherish. There are 3 principles in which we ensure social harmony in Singapore. 1, multiculturalism. Singapore's different ethnic groups coming together as one united people without giving up their cultural heritage or beliefs. At the same time, our common national identity takes precedence over our ethnic or religious identities. Second, secularism. Backed by the rule of law the state is secular, but not against religion. Everyone has the right to practice their religion freely, while religious organizations are consulted in policy matters that may have an impact on their community. The government reserves the right to make the final decision. Third, meritocracy. Opportunities are bestowed based on individual merit and performance, without bias to any race, creed, or social economic background. While this may not result in equal outcomes, it guarantees that all Singaporeans have a fair chance to succeed according to their own talent and effort. I'm afraid whether this is happening in India. One of the first manifestations of this principle was our Constitution, which guarantees the right of every person to embrace and practice his religion freely. The Constitution protects religion's freedom. Every individual has a constitutional right to profess, practice, and propagate his religion as long as such activities do not affect public order, public health, or morality. Our commitment to being one united people, regardless of race, language, or religion, is also enshrined and expressed in our national pledge drafted in 1966 by the Singapore's first foreign minister, Mr. S. Rajaratnam. To be able to live together, we must first be able to communicate and understand one another. The use of English as a common language of administration and instruction after independence helped to unify all Singaporeans without privileging any one cultural group. Even as the other different communities were encouraged to preserve their own languages and cultural roots. This allowed a common civic space to develop in which Singaporeans could share experiences, memories, and values and form a truly national identity. Fully aware that unjust or discriminatory treatment could lead to resentment and disharmony, Singapore's government took pains to treat all ethnicities and faiths fairly and to enact legislation soon after independence to protect minority rights and privileges. The Presidential Council on Minority Rights was introduced in 1970 as a safeguard to ensure that the government does not implement any law which discriminates or disadvantages any race, religion, or community. While the freedom to practice religion is enshrined in the Constitution, there were concerns in the 1980s that rising religiosity could arouse suspicion or spark fresh tensions in Singapore's diverse society. Following a government white paper and much public discussion among the various communities, a Maintenance of Religious Harmony Act was introduced in 1990, empowering the authorities to act against incidents. However small, they could potentially escalate to threaten our religious harmony. The Act rounded off the suite of legal measures that the government has kept at its disposal to address threats to our social cohesion and including contaminations of other races or religions. The generally peaceful state of inter-ethnic or inter-religious relations in Singapore is a matter of conscious and careful planning. Ever mindful of sensitivities of being a multicultural society, particularly one with a short history as a nation, we have infused our public institutions from schools to public housing and compulsory national service for all Singaporean men with opportunities for Singaporeans of different backgrounds to come together, understand one another, and respect our society's rich diversity. Beginning in 1970s, national programs were designed to ensure balanced representation of Singapore's diverse ethnic makeup, and in particular the four major ethnic groups. The prominent policies among these include the Housing and Development Board's Ethnic Integration Policy, the Ethnic Self-Help Groups, and the Group Representation Consistency System. For example, Housing Development Board Ethnic Integration Policy, introduced in 1989, spells out the proportion of each major ethnic group who may own units in an apartment or neighborhood. This stipulates ensure that most families in Singapore, 80% of whom reside in HDB public housing estate, will live alongside others of different religion and ethnicities, sharing common amenities such as playgrounds, shops, and bus stops, which is the diametric opposite of colonial era norm of ethnic segregation. This discourages a formation of ethnic enclaves, making the daily social experience of Singapore life more inclusive and diverse. Such policies seek to create common spaces where people of different backgrounds will, in the course of their daily lives, come to meet, mingle with, and build bonds naturally. A culture is formed not through peaceful incidents, but through regular encounters and interactions. Over time, strong relationships and shared memories nurture tolerance, trust, understanding, and acceptance. So the policy of the government is to build many modest, small, and medium-sized community centers to have one at every thick populated area to provide the escape value for the recreation of the children in the day and adults in the evening. I suggest state governments in India can follow this model to construct community centers in all villages to enhance the bonding within the community. This is a place where people could come together, get to know one another, and be part of the larger community. If people could learn skills or share common experiences together, interaction would be more spontaneous and meaningful. This will cultivate social cohesion and nurture a sense of community. It is a mission that endures to this day. Besides the community centers we built within the communities, they became a convenient venue to hold communal events such as New Year get-togethers, National Day celebration, Deepavali, etc. In later years, residents would visit the CCs at the end of the day work to watch television in the communal halls. Activities and classes held at these centers were either free of charge or kept very affordable to encourage participation. There were also places where grassroots leaders would be groomed before being deployed to the communities to serve residents. Today, there are over 100 community centers and more than 37,000 grassroots volunteers, working with an extensive network of patterns, including grassroots organizations and the community development councils. Community centers organizes a wide range of activities, from block parties and the celebration of various festivals, excursions, and cooking classes, creating opportunities for Singaporeans of different ethnic and social background to mingle. Ladies and gentlemen, no government policy or program can maintain social harmony if our communities do not themselves embrace or observe its principles. Many public initiatives seek to build up trust and good relations between communal groups in Singapore and to develop an instinct for the greater national good. One of these initiatives was the formation of Interracial and Religious Confidence Circle, IRCCs, in every constituency in 2002, comprising leaders from racial, religious, social, educational, business groups, and organizations. IRCCs help to deepen residents' understanding of various beliefs and practices through heritage trails, interfaith talks, and religious festivities. Being closer to the ground, they also help to calm raw nerves and assuage anxieties that might arise in the community. Efforts to nurture social harmony are more impactful if they come from the community and if they involve the young. Singapore must be a place where the economy prospers and human spirit thrives. To become a truly inclusive society, we need to work hard to eliminate discrimination that can hold people back from giving their best to the nation. In recent years, conscious efforts have also been made to nurture a society where the most vulnerable are given extra help to cope and lead meaningful lives. Ladies and gentlemen, indicators of racial and religious harmony show that Singapore enjoys a high degree of social harmony, with 7 out of 10 respondents agreeing that they did not experience any religious or racial tensions in their daily lives, and 9 out of 10 respondents indicating that they were comfortable having someone of another race as their neighborhood. After 60 years together as a nation, our quest to become one people has proceeded well, but the journey is not over. During the National Day rally on 29 August 2021, the Maintenance of Racial Harmony Act was announced by the Prime Minister, Lee Hsien Loong, on the back of an increase in reported racist incidents and inter-ethnic relations coming under stress amid the COVID-19 pandemic. More controversial were his comments on race relations and especially about whether the Chinese majority have enjoyed unfair advantages over minorities here, declaring that it is entirely baseless to claim that there is a Chinese privilege in Singapore. Ladies and gentlemen, in this uncertain, complex, and often volatile global environment we live in, our diversity can be our greatest strength. To preserve the peace we enjoy now, we must continue to build strong bonds of trust, friendship, understanding, and work hard to remain an inclusive society that welcomes and appreciates all, regardless of race, language, or religion, which Srinarayana Guru dream of a world where all the human beings are united. I end by congratulating again Srinarayana Guru College by organizing this international conference on the life and teachings of Srinarayana Guru, which I am sure will benefit all delegates who attended this remarkable event. I also like to congratulate again the organizing committee, speakers, and delegates. I wish Srinarayana Guru College will organize such international conferences in subsequent years. I am confident that the takeaway from this conference will enable all of you to fight against the evils of religion, fundamentalism, and erosion of human values. Ladies and gentlemen, with these words, I thank all of you and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your insightful address on the multicultural, multi-religious societal setup and living harmoniously in the country of Singapore. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable presence and accepting our invitation and addressing from Singapore. Once again, I thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It's time to hand over the session to Dr. E.K. Girishan, sir, Associate Professor and Head Department of Computer Applications and IT, to present the conference summary report.
Thank you, ma'am. I welcome Advocate Manoj Kumar Balakrishnan, Dr. S.N. Jagadish, Professor Nachimuthu sir, and Sundaresan Katil Parambil, also others who have joined recently in this virtual gathering. And I must thank Dr. Srinath sir for giving a lecture. With a short notice, we have invited him, and from a very far place, he has delivered a talk and gave away his valediction. Thank you so much, sir. From our, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I'll move on to the next session of summarizing the three-day conference. Once again, good afternoon to one and all. It's my pleasure to summarize and put forth the report of the three-day conference on the life and teachings of Sri Narayana Guru College, organized by SNGC. The international conference, named ICLT SNG 21, focuses on the spiritual and social life of Sri Narayana Guru Devan. This is the first multilingual conference organized in the name of Sri Narayana Guru by a college. The theme of the conference is to highlight the philosophical thoughts and teachings which made an impact in the society. The conference had served as a platform for academicians, research scholars, poets, devotees of Sri Narayana Guru, and students to exchange their views and experiences in three languages: Tamil, Malayalam, and English. The three-day conference was held virtually using Microsoft Teams link. It was created and all participants had to attend using that link. The first day, which was held on 4th October 2021 at 10:30 a.m., we had the inauguration ceremony presided by our chairman, Sri N. Prabhakaran, and the keynote address was delivered by Sri T.S. Harish Kumar sir, President of Sri Narayana Mission Coimbatore and Treasurer of Universal Confederation of Sri Narayana Organizations, New Delhi. The benedictory address was delivered by Sambhujya Swami Sachidanand of Gayatri Ashram, Chalakudi, Kerala. The inaugural ceremony was done by Brahmachari Asamga Chaitanya of Sivagiri Mutt, Varkala. Our principal, Dr. M. Ilangovan, welcomed the gathering during the inaugural ceremony. The day one session, second session, was held at 1:30 p.m. with a special address by the eminent speaker, Dr. P.K. Sabu, retired professor of geology, College of Engineering, Trivandrum, Kerala. He delivered a talk on Advaita Jividam, the unity of life in Malayalam language. The first day was a takeaway for the participants in Malayalam language. The second day, the conference was held in Tamil language, and we had three speakers to deliver a special address on Sri Narayana Guru's philosophies and thoughts. The session one began at 10:30 a.m. with the address by Professor Dr. K. Nachimuthu, retired professor of Tamil Central University of Tamil Nadu, Tiruvarur. He delivered a topic on Vallalarum Narayana Guruvum, Vallalar and Narayana Guru. It had happened that the birthday of Vallalar was on 5th October, and we were fortunate to hear from him about Narayana Guru and Vallalar. The second session was held at 11:30 a.m. IST and on the topic Kavi Narayanar, delivered by Sri Sukumaran, a very famous poet and novelist from Trivandrum, Kerala. The session 3 was held in the afternoon at 1:30. The speaker for the session was Dr. Kanjana, a retired professor and head, Department of Tamil, University of Kerala, Trivandrum. Her topic of speech was Thiru Narayana Guru Deva Darisanangal, Visions of Sri Narayana Guru Deva. So we ended the session of day 2 with 3 special addresses, and we moved on to the third day, which will be delivered, which was focusing on the language of English, since it was a multi-language conference. The first day was in Malayalam, second day in Tamil, and third day in English. And today happened to be the third day. There were 4 sessions with a keynote and a special address by 4 eminent speakers to talk about Sri Narayana Guru Deva. The first session began at 10 a.m. with the address by Dr. Preeta Krishna L., Assistant Professor of English, Sri Narayana College, Varkala, Trivandrum. A topic of speech was Metaphors in the Poetical Works of Sri Narayana Guru. The second session of day 3 was handled by Dr. B. Sugita, Director, International Center for Sri Narayana Guru Studies, Government of Kerala. A topic of speech was Ontological and Axiological Vision in Brahma Vidya Panchagam of Sri Narayana Guru. The third session was held at 11:30 a.m. and the speaker for the session was Dr. P.V. Suraj Babu, a retired principal from S&M Training College, Paravur, Kerala. His topic of speech was Guru's Concepts and Values. The fourth session of day 3 was held in the afternoon at 1:30. The guest speaker was Dr. C.N. Somarajan sir, retired professor of political science, University College, Trivandrum. His speech was on Sri Narayana Guru, the prophet of universal humanism. And now it is happening, and now we are in the valediction, and we have the guest of honor, Dr. S. Srinath from Singapore, who had already delivered the validity address. To summarize, the articles from research scholars, academicians, and students were received by our college, and there were more than 72 articles in 3 languages, namely Tamil, Malayalam, and English languages. These articles will be reviewed by expert committees and will be published, if selected, in the conference proceedings with ISBN number. The entire 3-day event will be hosted in our college official channel, SNGC CBE. I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to summarize the conference report, and thank you all once again.
Thank you, sir. The smallest art of kindness is worth more than the grandest intention. Thanksgiving is a time of togetherness and gratitude. May I invite Dr. R. Priya, IQAC Coordinator, to deliver the vote of thanks. Please, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. I can't find the right words to thank each and everyone who have worked and been part of this 3-day virtual international conference on the life and teachings of Sri Narayana Guru, organized by the IQAC of Sri Narayana Guru College. The event would not have been possible without the support from our management, and we render our wholehearted thanks to all trustees and managing trustees. In particular, I would like to express my gratitude to our respected chairman, Mr. N. Prabhakaran, a visionary person, for motivating us through the right path. Thank you, sir. Our heartfelt thanks to Mr. T.S. Harish Kumar, founder and former secretary of the college and president of Sri Narayana Mission. It was really from his views that we have started Sri Narayana Guru Youth Club in our college. He shared the guidance for the success of this conference. My special thanks to you, sir, for rendering the keynote address. Thank you, sir. A proper leader is the one who guides his teammates through the right path, and one such leader is our beloved principal, Dr. M. Ilangovan, sir, who had been the guiding support, who led us to the successful completion of this multilingual conference. Thank you, sir, for your constant motivation. It was a great honor to have His Holiness Sri Brahmashri Sachidananda Swamigal, Gayatri Ashram, Chalakudi, who blessed us with his benedictory address. Thank you, Swamiji. We are also honored by the presence of Brahmachari Asam Chaitanya Sivaguru Math Varkala for inaugurating the conference on the life and teachings of Sri Narayana Guru. It takes immense pleasure in thanking you for your resourceful lecture. Thank you, sir. We started our first session with Dr. P.K. Sabu, retired professor of geology, College of Engineering, Trivandrum, who addressed on Advaita Jeevitam. We place on record our sincere gratitude to you for enlightening us with your enchanting speech. Thank you, sir. We are happy to have Dr. K. Nachimuthu, retired professor of Tamil, Central University of Tamil Nadu, Thiruvarur, who compared Vallalar with Narayana Guru, and we are really blessed to have you for this session, sir. Your thought-provoking lecture was admired by every one of us. Thank you, sir. Kavinyar Sri Sukumaran, poet and novelist, Trivandrum, gave insight to Kavi Narayanar in his perception, which highly influenced all the young minds. The way he began his speech itself fascinated everyone. His lecture was thoroughly enjoyed by everyone. We render wholehearted thanks, sir. We are overwhelmed by the lecture of Thiru Narayana Gurudeva Darisanangal by Dr. Kanchana, former professor and head, Department of Tamil, University of Kerala. It was an engrossing session. Thank you, madam. Dr. Preeta Krishna L., Assistant Professor of English, Sri Narayana College, Varkala, Trivandrum, for highlighting on metaphors in the poetic works of Sri Narayana Guru. It was truly an inspiring talk. Thank you, madam. Dr. B. Sugita, Director, International Center of Sri Narayana Guru Studies, Government of Kerala, who spoke on ontological and axiological vision in the Brahmavidya Panchagam of Narayana Guru. The lecture really did signify the vision of Narayana Guru. Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Suraj Babu, retired principal, Sri Narayana Mission Training College, Paravur, who gave a lecture on Guru's perspective on education and its relevance. It was a reviving session, sir. Thank you, sir, for your valuable session. Dr. C.N. Somarajan, retired professor of Political Science, University College, Trivandrum, who gave a talk on the topic Narayana Guru, the Prophet of Universal Humanism. Thank you, sir, for the captivating session highlighting equal opportunities to women, Guru's struggle to establish casteless society. Thank you, sir. On behalf of SNGC and on my own behalf, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. S. Srinath, Vice President, Sri Narayana Mission Singapore, for sparing his valuable time with us and for his inspiring talk on communal harmony in Singapore in the valedictory session. Thank you, sir. No work would even start, let alone be done, without proper teamwork. I am so grateful to have cooperative IQAC team who worked really hard to make this successful event, and special mention to Dr. E.K. Girishan, organizing secretary of this conference. Last but not the least, I would extend my gratitude to all the participants, especially my dear colleagues and students of SNGC, for being the major part of this 3-day conference on life and teachings of Sri Narayana Guru. The aim of this conference was to enlighten the participants on various perceptions of the multifaceted personality Sri Narayana Guru, and I hope we have attained the desired result and fulfilled our motto, progress through education. Thank you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's be privileged to rise up for the national anthem. I repeat, let's be privileged to rise up for the national anthem. Please all.
இப்ப கேக்குதுன்னு பாருங்க.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा। जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Thank you all.
Feedback.
Dear participants, please fill the feedback form, which is available in your chat box. I repeat, dear participants, please fill the feedback